Chris, can we start with your overall thoughts on the game?
Yeah, strangely, I'm sitting here feeling pretty optimistic about what we can do. We completely understand, especially the last few weeks we've been playing with a different team, which leads to some cohesion issues. We were seeing a few things early where we kind of thought the game was going okay for us, but there was just some uncharacteristic bits that might have been a little bit harder to see if you don't sort of understand the way we try to play. And so that leads to the question, why is that happening? And the answers are pretty obvious when you sort of look at who's not in our team. Even the guys that have come back are a little bit underdone and will get better. And then we have a big group of players who, when we look at in isolation, we feel really optimistic about the sort of players they're going to be. But as a collective at the moment, it's just proving difficult to play the way that we've been accustomed to playing. So if you remove the last 15 minutes, which became a bit disjointed for us because you were trying to win the game and sort of taking some risks and stuff, the rest of the game, like even by the final siren, I think the inside 50s, we were +5. The teams played differently. Like, Freo will be a high possession game. In some sense, it still comes down to translating into efficiency going inside 50, which we just didn't have, which at our best we're pretty good at.
Was there, common themes with the players that you've got out? Were there, areas of the game where you really saw it and felt it with those names that are on the sidelines?
Yeah, we thought we weren't too bad in and around the clearances in particular early in the game, but some of our most important players, they're obvious, aren't available. So we're sort of relying on some guys that haven't played much. But again, I'm not looking at them thinking, they're way off. It's just sometimes you get a critical mass, and maybe Freo are a pretty good comparison there in that maybe it's been a little bit of a slow start to the year, but I don't understand their personnel as well as you might, but Tabernar's out of their team. I've sort of been bled back in, but you kind of, in today's comp, if you don't have your full complement, you've got to play really, really well to get the game on your terms. And again, for large parts, we weren't sitting there thinking we're just completely breaking down. We just thought there was some execution stuff that was a bit uncharacteristic.
Talk about efficiency moving forward, and Freo did that today. I don't think I've seen a team, I can't remember the last time I've seen a score as often with so few inside 50s against Geelong. Is that a cohesion thing? You've got Radagalier moving back and a few other bodies. Is that something that you just need to wait and time's going to get better? A
little bit. I mean, not many teams can take sort of... Sam DeConning's not an All-Australian, but he is in my mind. Duncan back there. So there's a little bit of that sort of thing. But even the stats can be a little deceiving. What was really unusual for us is whether it actually comes out this way in the official statistics. The way we look at it, we gave up 6 goals from D50 stoppages, which was very unusual. And again, you look at it and you think that shouldn't be happening. And we're not giving them a pass. It's not like we're saying, we'll just get some players back and we'll be fine. We know we've got some things to work on, but we're not looking at it thinking, that was just a horrible performance. And I think, again, those D50 stoppage goals against, in particular, sort of blows out the efficiency number because the ball's already in there.
Do you take some heart in the fact that, Jeremy Cameron finishes goalless, Tom Stewart had probably one of his worst games in recent memory, and you were still in that match for so long? Do you take some heart from that?
Yeah, amongst, and there are other considerations too. We didn't think we gave our forwards good enough looks, and we had some really good looks that we just kind of blew. So the forwards always rely on what's happening up the field, and I thought it was more a function of sort of what was happening between the arcs where we weren't quite good enough, as opposed to we were giving our forwards good looks and they just couldn't execute. And Tom Stewart, it's a high bar that he's got to jump to play up to his standard. But again, I think if you take out the stoppage goals against, there was a lot of ball that was coming into their forward half, which was a bit foreign to Tom and the way we generally play. So we're aware of those things. Again, not sweeping under the carpet, but it's a strange feeling sitting here really, really disappointed. But once you take a breath and, collectively our coaches are kind of thinking, this is not a situation where we should be thinking we're going to drop our bundle. We're very, very confident that, if we shift a few things and improve in a few areas, we'll still be very hard to beat.
What's the most important of those, I guess, for the GWS game? What's the big thing that you want to shift?
Great question. One, I'm not going to tell them. I certainly wouldn't tell you either, but I think the point is we're clear on it. And there are some things that we work on privately that we never talk about publicly. I know some guys are different and they're an open book, we're not.
Are you likely to get anyone back?
Yeah, so it's a big group. We're really optimistic on Dangerfield, Rowan, De Koning. Mitch Duncan might be a little longer, but I'm not exactly sure there. Cam Guthrie's close. Menegola's going to be a bit longer. Stanley's going to be a bit longer. It was good. It was good to see sort of Henry and Stengel back. I know they played, but Jack Henry hasn't played a game at any level all year. VFL didn't have a game this weekend, so I'd almost include them as sort of returning players next year. And again, they're good examples because you kind of look at them and think they weren't the reason we lost, just the fact that they were underdone. But if your measure is how many guys do you have at your best, then we're a bit off. So we're trying to look at it rationally.
How did you see the ruck battle today? Obviously, Sean Darcy and Luke Jackson's quite a combo to come up against. How did you think your guys performed?
I look at the game maybe differently to some, but I tend to, unless it's really obvious, I tend to look at the ruck situation as a reflection of the clearances. And your eyes can tell you that a ruckman's dominating and you lose a clearance, kind of what's the point? Thought as the game went on, they've got some talented players in and around the ball, and like Darcy in particular is a big man. Thought Segler, played pretty well, but again, we're clear on some of the challenges we've got, and I didn't think that Segler and Blitzarves were completely outplayed in there, but the clearances were a bit of a problem for us.
You didn't have a dominant ball winner today. Do you think that could be a reason why you didn't have the dominant ruckman as well, or do you think you just weren't getting it done at ground level?
No, there's a little bit of a flow on there, but again, without telling you how to analyse the game, you can have your own opinions, and we may well sort of agree to disagree, but lots of possession for fewer inside 50s is just something that should be sort of analysed. So I don't. Maybe I'm speaking publicly about a weakness in my analysis of the game, but I just rarely look at individual stats. I don't tell our players, but it's a collective. So if a guy can cut you up with 18, and he can have 40 and not hurt you. So that's not a comment of this game. That's just a general comment. It was not something that. And I know the numbers are easy to reflect on when you're kind of watching, and the commentator's got to talk about something. And there was a big disparity there, but again, there's getting the ball and there's penetrating, and it always should be overlaid on what the teams are trying to do. But we just to give you a bit of insight into what we were thinking, we weren't thinking, we just can't get our hands on the ball.
A couple of players that did get their hands on the ball early, and you're talking about players you're getting excited about the future of, was Nevitt and Bruin. I forget that Bruin's only 20 years old. Well, I do forget he's only 20, and I've never seen Nevitt play before. Their first terms today. Things to come? Is that the two of the players you're talking about? Yeah,
I think we're looking at a few, even we lost the first 3 this year, but we had some players sort of looking at them thinking, okay, it's not collectively going that well, but there's reason to think that if those guys sort of keep improving with the talent we already see, that we could be in pretty good shape. The unfortunate thing is, most teams haven't. It's just so competitive now, and if you've been down for a while, you could sleep through your list management meetings and you still acquire talent through the draft. So we're not saying we're in a better place than them, but we look at over the last few years and think Holmes is going to be a really good player, Nevitt's looking good, Bruin's looking good. Ollie Henry's the same age as Tanner Bruin, and him going out really hurt us. When we're full personnel, let's say compare it to when we were at our best last year, we weren't saying, oh, a 20-year-old's out of the team, that's going to really affect us structurally. So it's just a bit of an indication as to why, we're frustrated, but we're not tearing our hair out thinking, why is this happening? 5-5 in a really tight competition is not a time to throw the toys out of the cot.
Chris, you open to a question off topic a little bit about from today's game?
You can ask whatever you want, just you've got to be happy with the answer.
Yeah, okay. Just
So have a go.
Just
Let's do it.
saw Alistair step away from the game
Yep.
earlier this week, and I think it was last year that, I won't put words in your mouth, you were asked about whether your brother should step back into AFL coaching, and the long answer was, why would you, along those sort of lines. I'm just curious for yourself, how much time and preparation do you put into mental health and physical health for yourself as an AFL coach? How much awareness and time do you put into that?
I appreciate the thoughtful question, and it is topical at the moment. Just a point of clarity, I think it was a bit longer than a year ago that I mentioned the stuff about my brother. And I don't think I explained myself particularly well when I gave that answer. It was more, the honest answer is you've got to know what you're getting yourself into. And it's a high pressure job. And like even now, like this is the worst 10 minutes of my week. But it's what most people see. So trust me, it gets better from here. But it does speak to the fact that it is really difficult, even if you're Alistair Clarkson and one of the great coaches of the modern era. So you overlay, what he's had to go through along with Chris Fagan. And unfortunately, I wish it was different. But I suspect Fags is going a little bit better because they're winning a bit more. It's really, I wish it was different that the results of games didn't control the way you feel so much. But if it didn't, then you wouldn't be competitive enough to be in this environment. So to your question, what do you do? Well, you have to acknowledge that I don't mind these days. I used to deny it, that no, we'll be okay. But acknowledging it's hard and you need to think through it and you need to lean on people, I think is a more honest answer. I think that was the case a long time ago. No one was prepared just to say it publicly because you looked like a weakling. And again, I don't know where they rank, but he's up there, Clarko. If he's finding it tough, then you can rest assured that most others find it tough as well. And I think, so I don't really follow the media that much, so I don't know what's been said about Clarko stepping away. But I hope it doesn't take for someone to acknowledge how much they are struggling before people think, oh, hang on a second, maybe we should be a bit more thoughtful in how we approach these things.